And they would do things like be like, go say thank you to your Uncle Dave for this gift and write a nice letter. Let's write it together. So I could kind of see that they were like a little bit like on eggshells, and they kind of cared a lot about what he thought.
Did you really have any interactions with your uncle when you were young?
Yeah, I definitely did. Yeah. But they weren't in a work capacity. They were like in an uncle capacity. So I didn't work with him or anything like that. Like if I was on the international base, like sometimes we would go there to do study, or sometimes we would go there to help in like help make the food or help on other projects. Like for a while we helped make the e-meters that you guys were talking about the other day. We were like part of their production line.
This is like the prisons making the fucking car tags and stuff,
Yeah.
but they got you making e-meters.
Yeah, except making e-meters was at least done in like a nice air-conditioned environment.
good.
Where
That's
the work
good.
that we did at the ranch was like digging trenches.
Yeah.
So the e-meter thing was like fun in comparison.
If we're gonna have slaves, we need AC.
Exactly.
All right? That's our middle ground right here.
It's like Santa's elves. All the children lined up making the toys.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So, but like when I would be walking around there, he would like just sometimes like pick me up on his motorcycle and like take me to his office, and I would like pet his dogs, and then mostly I would chat with Shelly, and they would like take silly photos of me like at his desk on the phone as if I was like running the world or something. And so he was nice to me when I was a kid.
Did he ever like have, after you had that conversation with that kid who told you who he was, did he ever have any conversations with you where you asked him about that, or he talked about the business of Scientology when you were younger?
I didn't have any conversations with him about that specifically, no. But I remember like one time when he was coming out to the ranch, and it was like to do an inspection, and we were all supposed to prepare. We did this type of cleaning that was called white glove, where we had to clean everything and dust everything so well that someone, you know, if they were wearing a white glove, they would touch it and it wouldn't have any marks on it. So we were like doing that in preparation for him to come out and visit. And like there was this rumor that he could like walk into a room and put his hand on the wall and just feel it, and he would know if the room was dirty. I don't know, whatever. It was just like some kid's lore thing.
Oh my God.
But so when he was coming out, they were like, okay, Jenna, when he comes, when he arrives, you have to walk up to him and be like, hi, sir, would you like some lemonade? And be carrying the lemonade or whatever. And then, so I remember I did that, and he was like, no, thank you. And he was like, and you don't have to call me sir. I'm your uncle. So I think that like when I was at that young age, you know, he was uncomfortable with me having to call him sir, but later I definitely did.
Oh, so that changed eventually.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. And so some of the times when I was in his office or talking to Shelly, he would just like ask me little questions about like other people in management, but I was never part of any of his decisions or anything like that. He would just like gossip or chat about it or whatever. But I would see him interacting with other executives, and I could see that they were afraid of him. And when I was young,
How'd you know that? Like just seeing fear on their face or other things?
yeah, like I could see how he would talk to them, and I could see them being like, you know, he kind of had like a dominating personality. And sometimes I would be taken out of the room, and I knew it was so that he could yell at them. They called it a severe reality adjustment, SRA. But it was like, oh, you're a kid, go out of the room. But I was like, well, we yell at each other all the time at the ranch. Everyone yells at us. So it was like, it was almost like they thought I was a child, and I was. But I was like, oh, God, I already know about all this, you guys.
So it wasn't, but again, like that's your only reality. So it's not like it's percolating yet. They're like, oh, this is not how things are supposed to be done. You're just thinking this is the order of business of the world. Like people like this are in charge of things. Other people are afraid of them. This happens to be my family, and this is the organization I'm a part of, and that's just what it is.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think, you know, when you're a kid, you start with taking in everything, and then as you get older, you start kind of judging it and seeing the contradictions. But at this point, I was just like, you know, taking information in.
Did you ever like, because you were talking about how David would come over and pick you up sometimes, take you over to his place with Shelly. But did you ever see like extended interactions between your parents and your aunt and uncle as well? Like, were they ever really together in front of you?
Yeah, like so like at certain events, like celebrations or whatever, we would sit at the same table with them, or
Okay.
during Christmas, like, the staff would get a day off and we were usually like in a house with them up in the mountains, like in Big Bear. That's like the closest like snowy area to where we were at in California. And so yeah, and my parents would act afraid of them, like would sort of like be on eggshells or of him.
Mhm.
And it was obvious because sometimes I would say things to him and later they'd be like, don't say that.
Oh,
And
it's a
so
reflection on us.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they would do things like be like, go say thank you to your Uncle Dave for this gift and write a nice letter. Let's write it together. So I could kind of see that they were like a little bit like on eggshells and they kind of cared a lot about what he thought. And I knew he was important. I mean, at certain celebrations they would have at the base. I mean, like people were bringing him food. Everyone was afraid of him.
All right, summer's over. I know you missed the beach bars, but you're getting back into the routine. And what you don't want to do is let your fitness goals fall by the wayside. And the number one way that happens is if you don't focus on what you're putting in your mouth. But fear not, because that's why Factor's here with their no prep, no mess meals. Factor has a menu full of chef-crafted meals like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great-tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and over 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. From breakfast to dessert, Factor is your fuel for easy and nutritious options. You can treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. And like I said, the best part is Factor meals are ready in just 2 minutes, which means no shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Furthermore, you can customize your nutrition goals by choosing from 6 different menu preferences the Factor has, such as managing calories, maximizing protein intake, avoiding meat, or simply eating well-balanced. So head on over to factormeals.com/Julian50 and use code Julian50 at checkout to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code Julian50 at factormeals.com/Julian50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Almost sounds like Michael Corleone a little bit. Sorry, I'll turn you on there. You got a mic right there.
Oh, okay. Well, and Jenna's dad is Dave's older brother. So I think it is more interesting to imagine an older brother acting afraid of a younger brother because just of the power he wields within the organization.
Oof.
And his ability to determine your fate.
Right. Yeah.
Scary. Now, what about your grandparents too? Because like your grandfather, who just passed away a few years ago, unfortunately, he ended up becoming a huge vocal critic of his own son, which is really like, that whole thing's like almost biblical. Like listening to that and how hard I couldn't fathom that. But when you were growing up, he was in the organization still. So is he at these celebrations at Christmas and stuff as well, or?
Yeah, he is too. I mean, he was also like, he was just like kind of a loud, like wild and crazy person. That's how I thought of him. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't super close with him. His wife, Becky, I guess I spent more time talking with her. He was just so loud and like that I would be embarrassed to be around him. But I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like, I don't know. I was shy. So yeah, but he was definitely around and like being loud and crazy. So him and my grandma weren't together. She wasn't in the Sea Org. So later on when I moved to Florida, as part of, Scientology stuff, she was there and me and her were more close.
So when you were growing up, like you knew he was your grandfather though, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
You were
And
very aware of who he was.
Yeah. And when he would see me, he would hug me. He would send me like $5 at Christmas or my birthday or something like that.
Scientology uses real money. Who knew? So it's just like I try to imagine it, but when we say family or something like that, the way that I know what a family is, just from being born, and the way that you know what a family is, are two very different things, right? Like you don't,
Absolutely.
as you've already laid out here, you don't have real, true, prolonged interaction with these people, but you know who they are. So I actually don't want to answer this question for you, but like when you were a child, you said you really look forward to your parents coming back and stuff. You at least knew who your grandfather was. You knew who your uncle was. Would you describe yourself as like feeling love for them?
I definitely did for my mom and my dad, because when I was really little, I think that that's like programmed in, like I really needed them and I just always wanted to be with them. And I think that like the fact that I wasn't made that even stronger. But I guess, so with my parents, I did, but how you describe family otherwise, like it kind of isn't a thing for me. Like I knew Dave was my uncle, I knew Shelly was my aunt, I knew my grandpa was my grandpa, but it was like this weird thing because we were also working every day at the ranch and we were told that we were adults in small bodies.
You were told you were adults in small bodies.
Well, we knew that, so in Scientology, they believe that you are a thetan, which is a spiritual being. You're not your body, and you're a spiritual being who has lived for, billions of years. And, just because you're this body that you happen to have at this time is young, you are actually not. And so, we did not think of ourselves as kids. And so, and also, your family isn't really your family.
Yeah.
They're just another thetan. So it was kind of confusing. Like it was like on one hand, people saw me as part of this family, but I don't know, it's not like I hung out with them all the time. The people who I hung out with all the time were other kids at the ranch. But people sort of saw me in this way, but then at the same time they're saying that family is nothing. It was just confusing.
Of course. That's just unfathomable. But like you obviously felt that, as you just said, with your parents. Did you feel it in return from them? Do you think that, not after we'll get to them ended up getting out of Scientology and everything, but while they're in and you're a kid, did you feel like they loved you, or was there a little bit of a almost like barrier between you when you were with them?
So with my dad, I did feel that way because my mom was regularly away. Like her job was to build do renovations on certain Scientology churches. So she was away at the Ship, which was in Curacao. She did all the renovations on that. After that, she did the Celebrity Center in LA. And after that, she was in Florida. So I didn't see her for 6 months at a time. And even then, it was just once a week, where my dad, I at least saw him once a week. He would make breakfast. He would write me during the week. I could tell that he wanted to be with me. He wanted to spend time with me, and that he was sad that he couldn't spend more time with me. And so I guess I felt, like I wanted to see my parents and I wanted to see them more. And I considered once I graduated from the ranch, I would be able to see them every day. But at some point probably about when I was 12, I was just like, I don't know, I guess kind of like that urge that you have when you're a little kid, like that sort of didn't control my feelings and needs anymore. And it just, my friends were sort of my family. Those are the people who I lived with. Those are the people who I talked to every day. Those are the people who I went to if I needed help with anything. They're basically like your brother and sisters.
Yeah.
Like I didn't live in a house with my parents or anything like that. So I think that probably all changed when I was about 12.
The friends you're talking about specifically, though, are they right in your age group? Because you said everyone on the ranch was all different ages.
Right, yeah. So it would have been certain ones that were right in my age group. Or
imagine that, being 12 years old, for people out there listening, and the people you can go to for advice are the people your age.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Right.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.